call this habits of healthy, vibrant women. And the reason I put the word vibrant in there was actually I think it was a therapy session that it was therapy or a business session. I can't remember, but I had to do this whole writing assignment about the word vibrant and just like how it connects to healthy habits and like how it connects to the person that I want to be as a person or as like an individual. So this is actually going to be a little bit of a homework assignment for you guys as far as like journaling and really getting into what the words healthy and vibrant be. So I'll get into that at the end. But really this whole presentation is what I think really matters as far as moving the dial, getting you the best results, and like not stressing you out. Because I think, yeah, I could get you to lose fat very quickly if we put you on like a super low calorie diet, but it's not good for you because you are going to put so much stress on your body. It's going to screw up your hormones, it's going to screw up your thyroid. You're going to have nutrient deficiencies, like your hair is going to fall out. You're not going to be sleeping. There's so many reasons why like super low calorie diets don't work. And at the end of the day, I think we all just want to be healthy and vibrant and happy, and we don't want to be stressed out about the macros and things like that. So these are the things that I think really matter, and this is the stuff that I want you guys to pay attention to. And I'm almost thinking I should have done this presentation last week but we're in week 3, so we're going with it. But I think this is probably the stuff that like really matters, and I identified 7 things, and these are kind of like the basics as far as like what we do with what we do with one-on-one clients and what I think like really makes a difference. So I call these the big rocks. This is an old Instagram image. It's been used for a few mentorships at this point. But, you know, we are more health conscious than ever. I mean, all of you guys are super duper health conscious. I think a lot of us have similar backgrounds and similar goals and things like that. But I think a lot of the times, you know, we're focusing on the wrong things. You know, it's like the shiny object syndrome. We're focusing on like low calorie ice cream and high fiber protein bars and booty bands and circus workouts and things like that. Not you guys specifically. I just think like women and diet culture in general. And I do think those things are fun and exciting and they can have their place in a healthy diet, but really like the basics are like what are going to get you the best results. And it's sleep and it's food quality. And I'm going to get into, you know, what they are, but the things at the bottom here are the most important. And the things here at the top, you know, they're less important. They're helpful, like the BCAAs and like the carb cycling and the MCT oil and like all that. They can be great, but I just don't think they're the most important as far as like moving the dial. And, you know, doing the whole FDN training, again and again, we go back to like the same things as far as sleep and stress management and all that. So I've really helped identify them. And then you guys are going to start tracking some of this stuff as far as habits go. So this is exactly what I do with one-on-one clients. We track biofeedback, which you guys have been doing, and then you're going to track your habits. And with your habits, again, it goes back to awareness. Are you doing the things that are going to move the dial, or are you slacking on those things? So I have a little tracker for you guys that I'll put in the portal, and then it's also linked here in the presentation. Oh, and then I just saw this on Instagram the other day, maybe like a week ago. And so this is not mine, but I was like, oh, this is so perfect. This comes from Coach Mike, and he's at Mind Over Macros, and he has a podcast, and he's just like a straight shooter. So if you're looking for like a good nutrition podcast, like look up Mind Over Macros, Coach Mike. He is the man. So I'll go through these real quick. I mean, definitely come back to this, and maybe it could be like a reminder for you, but the things you need to focus on versus the things that you don't need to focus on. And some of these will come later in the mentorship as far as like what we're focusing on. But I think this like really sums up like a lot of the stuff we're going to do in this mentorship. So on the need side, focusing more time on the process and delaying like the instant gratification. So I think I actually put a post in my feed yesterday about how we all want the end result. We want the outcome. We're like, how do I lose the weight? How do I lose the weight? But the process to get you there is actually, or could be really, really enjoyable for you. You know what I mean? Like making healthy decisions to nourish yourself, or trying new workouts, or really like focusing on the process that's going to get you to the outcome can make it so much more enjoyable and so much more sustainable. So when you're looking at that big goal, don't just think, oh, I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to lose 10 pounds. Like, think about all the things that are going to get you there, because doing those things consistently is most important. It can actually be like a lot more enjoyable. You know what I mean? As far as like the process goes. Focus on how your current plan is making you feel. And this is kind of going back to that whole idea of like white knuckling through like a diet or a workout, and like that whole idea of like, the harder or the more hardcore the diet is, or harder or hardcore the workout is, the better results you're going to get. And that's not necessarily the case. The more enjoyable it is, the more it fits into your lifestyle, the more consistent you can be, and the better results you're going to have. So again, like going back to what you were doing, like, do you enjoy this? Like, is it working for you? Does it make you feel good? Because if it makes you feel like crap, it's probably not the right way to go. Having awareness around your food quality and quantity. So this is exactly what we're doing with the 10-day tracking exercise. So going back and like looking at, how much protein am I eating? Also paying attention to fiber and sodium. We'll get into that a little bit too. But looking at some of those nutritional metrics are good as far as like food quality goes. Live in a homeostatic balance most of the time, and keep your fat loss cycle short and sweet. Kind of just what I mentioned about having a short and sweet cut phase, where you're living most of your life in this kind of homeostatic maintenance phase. Probably the most important. So not being in that forever diet phase, which I think a lot of us do, where we go from diet to diet to diet. Focus on moving your body, drinking water, eating quality foods, managing stress and sleep. We will 100% get into that in this presentation. And on the dope side is rushing the process and trying to achieve your goals as fast as humanly possible. I think this gets us into trouble. It's like just what I was saying about crash dieting and things like that, going all in for like a couple of weeks and, hitting the macros every single day and like getting to your results. And then it just doesn't leave you in a good place for like the long-term maintenance and long-term results. On the dote side, trying to be so perfect with hitting your macros. This can definitely be troublesome because it's just not sustainable and can make you crazy. It's like, the puzzle piecing. Ignoring how much you're eating and what you're eating. This is exactly what we're doing with the tracking exercise. Because like the snacks and the extra glass of wine, all those little things add up. Trying to live in a calorie deficit 24/7, 365. Yes, we talked about that, and that will be another theme. And then worrying about the small details that don't matter: how many meals per day, what time you eat, when you train, etc. Some of those things are helpful and can be really important for you and your lifestyle. But big picture, they're probably not, giving you the best results. I just think there are things that are more important as far as like, when you're exercising, when you're eating, things like that. It's more the big picture, like what happened that day, what happened that week, what happened that month. So big picture. So just this is kind of like a cliff notes. So like I said, I stumbled upon this on Instagram and I'm like, this is perfect. I'm adding this into my presentation. Okay. So this is what I chalk it up to be as far as 7 habits of healthy, vibrant women. So healthy, vibrant women prioritize sleep. They actively manage stress. They keep their blood sugar balanced, fill half their plate with veggies and fruit. And I would put a little asterisk next to this, because if you have GI issues like me, maybe the veggies, or a lot of veggies, are on the back burner right now. Like, I would not eat a salad right now. I can tell you that. So, but within like what you are doing as far as health wise, getting vegetables and fruit, they're just very, very nutritious. So that's why I added it in there. And there's lots of fiber. They're really filling. So the only reason I pointed out that asterisk is because I've talked to a couple of you guys who have some like gut health stuff going on. So this might apply to you, it might not. They eat what they love in moderation, like no restrictions on anything. They plan ahead and they strength train and move daily. So this is what I identify as the things that like really move the dial. And we'll get into these with a few more detail. But of course, like if there's something in your life that you are currently doing that's like working for you and really is like a pillar of health for you, add it in. Or if some of these don't resonate with you, take them away. Like this is all about you at the end of the day. So these are the things that I think make the most difference. So if you are into tracking them, it could be really, really good as far as helping you get results. Okay. Prioritizing sleep. So I say 7 hours or more per night. Again, it's going to depend on the individual, but I just think back to like high school days, college days, even beyond, like I was a person sleeping like 4 or 5 hours a night. And I was like, oh, I don't need sleep. I'm fine. I can function. And then, yeah, I have an autoimmune disease. So my body was like, nope, you can't do all the things. But for as far as weight loss and overall health, lack of sleep produces cortisol. Cortisol and melatonin have a relationship where if cortisol is elevated, melatonin is going to decrease. So if you're somebody who is like really stressed as far as work or relationships or anything like that, it's going to lower your melatonin. You're going to have more sleep issues. So definitely want to get the sleep as a priority, but also stress manage. Lack of sleep gives you crazy cravings. I don't know if you guys can relate, like where you take like a red eye home or you have a bad night of sleep, like you just crave like all the things, like you just want sugar and you want carbs and things like that. It just makes it harder for you to manage those cravings. And also, your body has a more difficult time metabolizing those calories because there's an overproduction of insulin because of what's going on with your cortisol. So even though, lack of sleep, even if you can, willpower through those cravings, like your body is still not processing those calories correctly. So sleep really does like fix everything. Sleep is important for recovery after a workout. So if you're trying to put on muscle and you're not sleeping enough, you're not going to have that great recovery. You might even feel more sore the next day. So making sure you're getting enough sleep as far as recovery goes. Of course, sleep and, illness, immune system, those are all related. And of course, instead of staying up super duper late, you're not mindlessly munching. So there's like a lot of reasons why like prioritizing sleep is really important. So I'm big on this bedtime routine, and this is a conversation that I have with most one-on-one clients. And if you think about our lives, we run around like lunatics all day long, demanding so much of our bodies, like juggling a million things. I think a lot of us are working, we have kids and families and responsibilities, and then we're like, okay, body, go to sleep. And so like we don't give our bodies a chance to wind down and really relax. So establishing some sort of routine is really, really important as far as getting your body to wind down. So even if you have a chance to, or even if you fall asleep quickly, you might not stay asleep. And I think like that restless sleep where you're waking up a million times during the night, you're just not getting that restorative sleep. And then, yeah, you're going to deal with like cravings and soreness and, mood swings and all that. So it's just like really important as far as having some sort of routine. I think limiting the blue screens is probably the most important. There's a few ideas here, but again, it kind of goes back to, what works best for you and, figuring out what works best. And this is a great question from Nikki about melatonin. I actually just had this conversation on a Dutch review with a client. So melatonin can work for people. I'm not against it, but what happens with me personally and some of my clients is that it will help me fall asleep, but then I don't stay asleep. So for melatonin, if it works for you, great. If you have low progesterone, it might not work for you because the low progesterone is actually what's preventing you from staying asleep. So I typically recommend CBD. I think CBD is like really, really great as far as calming the body. You can use CBD throughout the day, but it can be really good at night. And then I also like L-theanine, can also be really, really calming. To the body. I can add these two to the group, CBD, L-theanine. Sorry, I'm going to put all this in the portal for you guys. So short answer is yes, if it works for you, go for it. But sometimes it doesn't work for people. So it kind of goes back to like the big picture as far as like what's going on with hormones. And then just trying it out and seeing if it works or not. But yeah, melatonin could be a good pick. But again,
magnesium too. Sorry to interrupt. Magnesium, I hear also.
Yeah, magnesium's good too. And don't be afraid to go crazy with the magnesium levels or magnesium doses because most people are deficient. And if you're low in magnesium, definitely affects sleep for sure, but then also hormonal health. So magnesium is definitely a good one. And I would say, depends, I would say anywhere from like 400 to like 600 milligrams a day. So that's something that I'm always like, yeah, magnesium, everybody's deficient in it. And if you're deficient in it, you're going to feel like kind of amped up like all the time.
So I just learned that magnesium citrate is the one that you should be taking. So I was
Well,
taking a different form, and then my doctor was like, no, you need to be taking magnesium citrate. So I just thought I would add that in there for anybody who didn't know, because I didn't.
yeah, so magnesium citrate could be a good option, but if you have looser bowels, it can make things
Right.
looser. So if you were somebody that tends to be more constipated, citrate's great. Glycinate is also a good version if you have more
Okay.
like looser things going on.
Oh,
But yes,
yeah.
there's like different forms of it. Yeah. So yeah, if
Yeah.
you already like my life is loose, I guess. So for me, yeah, I stick to the glycinate. But yes, it can be good. So like Natural Calm is one that you can get at like CVS, Target, stuff like that. I don't know which one I'm taking right now. Mine's actually in a blend of stuff. But I always encourage people to try different things, because like I said, melatonin can work for some people and then it might not work for other people. So it just kind of depends because the goal is to stay asleep. Like falling asleep is great, but like staying asleep is like the key. Oh, and somebody was telling me, one of my clients was telling me that Beam, I'll put this in there too. I have no relation to Beam. The only reason I'm giving them a shout out is because the owner used to work at our CrossFit or work out at our CrossFit. So like kind of know him. But they have a CBD melatonin L-theanine blend. So it's kind of like all the things in like one CBD. I haven't tried it. It just, I had a client tell me about it the other day and I was like, oh, I should look into that. So just wanted to give
Tried
them.
it before.
Yeah. Is it good? Or did you like it?
I think so. I mean, I'm really lucky. I have a tough time falling asleep because I'm all over my screens like an idiot. But once I'm asleep, I barely get up unless I've drank like a million gallons of water right before. However, when I used Beam, I felt like it helped me to fall asleep, which again was like my challenge. And I used to take it like, it's kind of nice in the winter, to be honest. It's like a hot chocolate sort of drink.
Yeah.
But I felt like if I did it at like 8:30, I tried to be asleep by 10, it would kind of rock me to sleep a little bit, but not intensely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like you don't want like Robitussin or something. I had a roommate after college who would Robitussin herself to sleep. And I was like, that can't be good. She would just take it even if she wasn't sick. Anyways. But yeah, just some ideas as far as supplementation, but you guys know, like you can't supplement your way out of like insomnia or anything like that. It really does go back to diet and lifestyle, but to get good sleep, sometimes you do need supplementation. And I mean, I'm a big CBD fan. I do take it pretty much every day. I mean, CBD is good for inflammation too. So if you do have any sort of inflammation in the body, it can be helpful there. So it's like an all-in-one, I guess, as far as like sleep and inflammation. And I was telling my client who I was just talking to a second ago, before you guys, that our cells have receptors for CBD on them, and our cells have receptors for like thyroid, vitamin D. But it's just interesting that like it almost says like maybe our body needs these things, you know what I mean, as far as like keeping it healthy and everything, because our cells don't have receptors for everything, but it's one of the things that it does have receptors for. So just interesting. All right, I will continue. Sorry, lots of tangents, but keep asking the questions. I love these conversations, so feel free to interrupt at any point. It's what it's all about, guys. All right, minimize this. Okay, so number 2 was actively manage stress. And this is definitely like I know I need to manage stress. You know what I mean? But I mean, this scenario, I mean, this is literally me and literally a number of my clients that we run around all day. We mindlessly eat, whatever comes our way because we're like so ravenous that we haven't had time to prepare a meal or meal prep anything. And then at the end of the day, we're like, all right, I'm gonna have a glass of wine. So like this high stress lifestyle makes it like impossible to be healthy. So like chronic stress really just like makes it so much harder to lose weight. And a lot of that like chronic stress ends up around our bellies because our bodies are trying to protect those like vital organs there. And of course, this can lead to like anxiety and depression, sleep disorders, and an increase in cravings as far as like sugar and fat goes. So FDN training, like everything went back to stress. Like it was basically like stress causes every health issue ever. And in some sort of capacity, I really believe that like stress like screws everything up for sure. So I have a few, visuals as far as, what stress is. I've definitely worked with clients where they're like, oh, I'm not that stressed, but then we like kind of dig into it. And it's not just like work stress. I think a lot of times we're like, oh, work's not that stressful, but it could be financial, emotional, environmental, social, physical, mental, cultural. There's like so many things that go into stress. So when you guys are thinking about stress, like look at the big picture. I do think a lot of us like don't realize like how much stress is on our bodies. And I mean, I am the poster child for this. But there's a lot that's like going on. And I think for women, there's a lot of like over exercise, under eating, food intolerances, extreme dieting, even like toxicity as far as like beauty products or cleaning products or just pollution, like where you live and things like that. So there's just like a lot of different types of stress. So just wanted to share this as far as like helping you identify like what's going on. Ooh. Oh, book recommendation, Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. Ooh, somebody else told me about this. Ooh, thank you. I'll have to check that out. I'm big on book recommendations, so if you guys ever have any.
It's really good, and it talks about specific ways to complete what they suggest is a stress cycle that we experience daily if we're experiencing stress, and it's science-based. It's funny. They're trying to engage in some humor related to it. It's by these twin sisters. I presented on it at work because I think it's really powerful related to balance and the lack of being able to reach a balance, and that you're always on the spectrum of trying to get to balance, and then you're knocked back some and up and back. So anyway, I could talk about it all day. It's great. Highly recommend.
I love it. And I think I have a book recommendation here as well, because I just started this book about just how like our minds just run nonstop, and like my mind doesn't stop. Like I just constantly worry, think about work. And the one thing in the book that really resonated with me is that I'm in control of these thoughts, and I'm the one that's tormenting myself with these thoughts. And I'm like, oh crap, like I need to get it together. But it's just fascinating. It's just fascinating like how much we like put on ourselves as far as stress and responsibilities and all that stuff. I think I have some more good visuals in here for you guys too. This is basically like how stress affects the body. I mean, there's so many ways. I mean, obviously GI issues is like number one, inflammation all over your body, brain fog, you get sick. I think back to when I was most stressed in my life, I had strep throat, sinus infections, yeast infections. I had cellulitis. Like who the heck is cellulitis? It's just like this crazy inflammation or infection in your body. But I was always sick. Like my immune system just like couldn't handle it. And it was because I was so freaking stressed out. But workouts feel terrible. You struggle with your weight, no libido. Stress really like affects everything. So again, just taking a look at stress. Oh, this is the FDN. Let me see if I can move this out of the way. The FDN metabolic chaos diagram I was talking about, or one of them, but just how, having stress and metabolic chaos and how it affects like every part of your body. It's just connected to everything. So looking at like the bigger picture as far as stress goes. And this is the image that I use with like all my clients that I wanted to share with you guys. So this is just like the whole idea of like cortisol dysregulation and stress in the body. So the way our body should be is that we're kind of at this homeostasis. And if we get stressed, we have this like acute response and stress raises. So if you're like in a car accident or you have to give a speech at work or something like that, cortisol will raise to get you to that point that you need to be at as far as like adrenaline and being focused and things like that, like dealing with a stressful situation. But the issue is that our stress doesn't go back to this point. It just continues to be chronically elevated. And we just live our lives in this chronic state of stress. And that's where, the belly fat and the weight comes on and you're like, I'm eating the same number of calories, I'm exercising, like, why am I gaining weight? And it's because our bodies are just so stressed out. And then it gets to a point where like the HPA axis, your adrenals like can't keep up with that stress. And this is where you start having like chronic issues. And like down here is like the collapse, exhaustion, but this is where like autoimmune diseases start to happen and things like that. But our bodies like can't handle the stress. So again, it's like looking at that big picture, like, are we stressed every single day? You know what I mean? Like, when are we going to give our bodies a break? So this is just the progression of stress over time. But I love this visual as far as like showing people like what happens when you don't deal with stress and it's just chronically elevated. And this is kind of like the bathtub analogy. This is like a water like container. I don't even know, like a water. I don't even know, but just trying to like even these things out. So like recovery, like the things that you want to do to fill your cup, and these are the things that like take away. So like I said, like looking at the big picture, like what is stressing you out, and how can you kind of like even these things out as far as good nutrition, getting sleep, you know, having social connections. I think that's so important, especially with like COVID. I was feeling that in a big way, which is why I went back to CrossFit, because I was like, I need to talk to people. I'm in my house all day. But just, you know, trying to balance like the crazy side of your life, the stressful side of your life with more of these recovery things. And this is stuff that we can talk about as we go through this mentorship, because I do think it's really important. I get this question a lot. What's more important, sleep or exercise? I definitely have had this conversation as far as like, I want to get my workout in, but I'm not really sleeping, or I get up at, 4 o'clock in the morning to work out. Like, should I work out? And I have different answers for different clients, but I think the most important thing is that you want to design a life that allows you to do both of these things, that allows you to sleep and exercise. But I just think about like all of our commitments and everything, like jobs and kids and everything. And like, sometimes it feels like you don't have a choice, and like you have to do these things. And I think about that personally. Like, I have an autoimmune disease. I've been struggling with a flare, and I'm like, it would be great to take off like a month of work, but I can't just like take a break. Like, I have so many things going on. I can't just stop. But your choices are something that you do have control over. So it's like looking at those choices, and are your choices making your life more stressful? So really, like, I mean, even sitting down and like making a list, like what is stressing you out? Like, what is like putting you out of your comfort zone? What is like really bothering you? And then looking at your life and saying, how can I simplify things? Like, can I talk to my boss? Can I set more strict hours around work? Can I ask my family to help out with things? And I just think about, I was totally that person that I was like, oh, I'll do everything, and like around the house or responsibilities and kids and like everything. And I've really started to rely on Mal a lot more, on my husband. And it definitely has made like such a difference. So looking to partners or looking to kids to help out, hiring help. I mean, we have somebody that cleans our house now. And I mean, I think it's the best thing ever, it's obviously an expense, but I mean, it takes so much pressure off me to like clean tubs and vacuum and like whatever it is. And then of course saying no, like do you need to do all the things? Do you need to say yes to everything that everybody asks you to do? And sometimes it does feel kind of selfish, but at the end of the day, like you need to take care of yourself. I actually have a post on Instagram coming up about this, but the idea of have to do things versus like get to do things. So like, even if you don't feel like you have a choice in your schedule, you have a choice to how you respond to it. And this has really been huge for me, because like you could go through your to-do list and be like, oh, I have to do all these things, or you could kind of infuse some more like fun and ease into it. And does it have to be like a high pressure, like stressful situation always? And like I was saying with your thoughts, like, are your thoughts like tormenting you, or like, is it something you control? It's like ends up being like how you respond to things. Sorry, hold on one second. Hey, can you stop? Murphy's like licking his foot, and I'm like, that's like really annoying, dog. But just at the end of the day, just creating space to bring more like happiness and joy to things. It's like the whole idea of like when you're on a plane and they tell you to like put the oxygen mask on before like helping others. I think that's really important, because especially like if you're a mom or like a wife, a partner, whatever it is, like you do need to like take care of yourself, because it makes you just a better person to your family, your friends, your community, whatever it is. And I think if you're like not fully taking care of yourself, it can be really hard. So just flipping the switch on like, I have to do these things versus like, I get to do these things. So like I have to work out versus like, I get to work out. I get to go for a run. I get to like feel healthy and use my legs because I'm capable and able to use my legs. This is a little image, like if you're somebody that feels like you are super duper stressed or struggling with like crazy cortisol levels and stress, some things you can do as far as diet, eating enough protein, I think is really important. Choosing, you know, real fats over processed fats, magnesium, as we've talked about, just eating good, healthy, wholesome foods, I think is key. And this brings me to the next slide, keeping blood sugar balanced. And I think this is really important. I think a lot of times we do kind of overlook blood sugar and like why it's so important, but the more you are spiking and letting blood sugar fall, the more you're going to store fat. So blood sugar, you really want it to be steady throughout the day. And of course, the more it goes up and down, you're going to crave sugar and carbs. You're going to feel hungry. You're never going to be satisfied. You're going to experience energy and mood swings. You're going to store more body fat, and you're going to struggle with sleep issues. I mean, I've talked about waking up in the middle of the night because I had low blood sugar, and it sucked. I mean, that happened for like weeks, and I was not sleeping through the night. But the goal is really for it to be very, very steady throughout the day. So like the three bears, and I got my little image here. So not too high, not too low. But here's an image as far as where you want your blood sugar to be. So you kind of want it in this like space in the middle. Like you don't want to spike it and have it decline, spike and decline. Like you want it to be pretty steady. So making your meals, you know, well-rounded with carbs, fat, and protein in it, instead of, you know, just having like a carby snack or something like that, like doing your best to really balance things. So this is just a good visual of like what happens when blood sugar spikes too high and gets too low. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Like scrolling through things. But this is what I give to my one-on-one clients. They were like, well, how do you do that? You know, like, how do you like balance your blood sugar? So having some sort, this is like a visual, and this is like kind of for like the general population. Of course, you know, do what works best for you. But making sure you have protein, maybe some sort of starch in there, some level of fat in there, because that's going to help you stay satisfied too. And then as many fruits and veggies as you want. And I say this to my clients all the time, nobody gained weight from eating too many fruits and veggies. And at the end of the day, they're super duper nutritious. They don't have a lot of calories. They have fiber in them, you know, antioxidants, phytochemicals, all the stuff that we need to be healthy. So that's why I'm always like, fill your plate with these things. They're so good for you. And of course, this balance is going to change depending on your health goals, your gut status, you know, things like that. So it's just kind of like an idea, but getting protein, carbs, fat, fiber, all meals will really help balance blood sugar. And so this was number 4, fill half your plate with veggies and fruit. So it seems so simplistic, but really like veggies are the one thing that like pretty much every diet out there agrees on. They're like, eat your vegetables. I mean, I guess if you were doing carnivore or something like that, maybe not for the veggies, but most diets are like, yes, eat veggies. And what I was saying, they're low in calories, high in nutrients, or high in fiber. There's like so many good things about vegetables. And then I've definitely had clients over the years that are like, oh, I don't like vegetables. And I was like, all right, well, that's kind of a problem. But I always tell them, I'm like, you're an adult and you are responsible for your own choices. If you want to eat vegetables, great. If you don't want to eat vegetables, that's fine too. But we often talk about ways to like jazz them up and to make them taste better. And that's the thing, like you don't have to eat them steamed and plain with like a little bit of salt. Like there's so many ways to make vegetables taste good or incorporate them into meals. I had one client that she would literally eat chicken breast and steamed broccoli for like most of her meals. And I was like, that is no way to live. So as far as like favorite vegetables, like throw a sauce on them or a dressing or something like on them, even like butter and salt. I mean, that makes vegetables taste better. This vegetable book by Molly Katzen is one of my favorites. I bought it a million years ago. So many vegetable recipes in there, super simple, super straightforward. You can try the carrots and cake, or it's actually not carrots and cake, I guess it's mine. But the macro cookbook that I wrote, there's a lot of vegetable recipes. It's actually like a whole section related to vegetables. Oh, bye, Nikki. I know I went over. I have a call at 1, so they're gonna have to wait. I'm just behind today, guys. But anything you can do to like spice them up. And again, like use the chat as far as like getting ideas and things like that. If you go to Carrots and Cake, there's a million recipe ideas or Pinterest or anything like that as far as like spicing them up. I'll go a little bit faster, guys. I know it's been an hour. Women who are healthy and vibrant, they eat what they love in moderation. And I think this is really important to point out because I think a lot of us think that to be healthy, you need to eat like this perfectly healthy diet. And I think there's a place for Doritos and like beer or whatever you want. And if you think about it, I saw this quote a while back, and I just thought it was like a great way to describe this. And it says, wellness is a search for enhanced quality of life, personal growth, and potential through positive lifestyle behaviors and attitudes. And wellness, I like how they describe it as it's a search for and growth rather than like an endpoint. Like we're all striving to be healthier, but I don't think it is like a one set destination. And really for me, I think quality of life is way more important than your body fat percentage. You know, I'd rather have like a really healthy, happy life than be, you know, have like a perfectly sculpted body and abs and like all that, because like at the end of the day, are you really happy? I mean, we might be happy, but like, I don't know. I just think there's so much to be said for more of like a balanced approach to food. So how to apply this? I would say take an honest, not judgy look at how much fun food and drink you are eating throughout the week. And you guys are kind of doing this right now. But, you know, ask yourself, do these foods and drink contribute to your quality of life? Or are they moving you further from your goals? Like for me, I'm just thinking like going to Newport with my family over the weekend on vacation. And yeah, like I had a glass of Prosecco with some apple cider in it. It was delicious. And in that moment, it really did add to my quality of life. I really enjoyed it. I also had some ice cream. And I think like in the moment, these things are really important as far as like enjoying your life. And it's not, I don't think you just, basically what I'm saying is like, I don't think you need to eat perfectly all the time. And that's something that you really need to look at. Like, do these things contribute to my life, or are they hurting my quality of life and my health and getting me further from your goals? And that's just something to be honest with yourself about, because yeah, they can go either way. Number 6 is planning ahead. And so the number one reason people give up when, the number one reason people give when asked why they aren't in good shape, I would say most people say they don't have time. And it goes back to priorities. And I know you guys have said this before. It's like, oh, I don't have time versus, oh, that's not a priority for me right now. So really like trying to figure out, you know, what is most important. And I just think about this, like making a healthy choice usually doesn't take a lot of time. Like you could throw a frozen pizza in the oven or pick up takeout. It's going to take you 20 minutes, or you could cook up some ground meat, some eggs, microwave some veggies, like add a sauce. That's going to take you 20 minutes too. So it's not really that like you don't have time. It's just like priorities and, you know, planning ahead and, you know, making things work for you. It's, you know, we don't need more time. We need better habits. So going back to that again. So doing your best as far as making healthy choices there. And then how to make it happen. The more healthy food you have in your fridge, the healthier you will eat. I've talked about this meal prep power hour where I just meal prep in an hour. Nowadays, it's probably like 30 minutes. I've gotten it down to, you know, really quick. But doing whatever you can to get those healthy foods in the house. I mean, grocery delivery, huge thing, meal delivery, frozen veggies. I mean, you can't get easier than frozen veggies. I mean, you honestly just like pop them in the microwave or however you want. Making use of your Instant Pot, air fryer, toaster oven. There's so many easy ways to cook things that are healthy and quick. And then adjusting your expectation around what counts as fitness. And you guys definitely heard me talk about this, but you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I couldn't get an hour workout in, so I'm just going to do nothing. But really doing like a 20-minute or 30-minute workout, doing HIIT. There's a woman, she's the fasting MD on Instagram, but I listened to her on a podcast talking about how 8-minute HIIT workouts have all these benefits, and just like going all out for 8 minutes can get you like amazing results, which I thought was really interesting. I haven't tried it, but you know, HIIT can be really important as far as like getting you quick results. And then NEAT, like we were talking about last week, is just, you know, how can you move more throughout the day, because that really adds up. Basically being totally sedentary versus, you know, moving throughout the day. And then kind of going back to my hard sell on the building muscle and everything, it's way more efficient to not eat calories and pay attention to your nutrition than trying to work them off. Because yeah, you could eat, 200 extra calories, and to like work them off, you're going to have to like work out for 20 minutes or more, So I think like paying more attention to your diet is more important than the exercise thing. So again, planning is key. And then finally, I know I flew through this at the end. Hopefully it was helpful to you guys, but strength training regularly, moving daily. Like I said, hard sell in week 2 about why I like it so much, but building muscle, will get you toned. It will slim you down. It will help you lose weight, like all the things. So I think just prioritizing those things will get you the best results. So go back to week 2 and review that. So this is the tracker I was talking to you about. So this will be in the portal. Would love for you guys to track this. It's similar in the sense to the biofeedback that you're tracking, that you're rating it on a scale of 0 to 5. So 5 would be like, yes, I crushed that this week. I was on top of my sleep. I managed my stress. And 0 would be like, this did not happen this week. And then of course, tallying your score, and then over the weeks, hopefully these numbers will increase. So the tracker is in the portal. So hopefully you guys will start tracking that too, because